What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another Ignite Thursday. Now, before we get started, I hope everything goes well during the stream, just because of the fact that I've been having connection issues lately. So just going to go ahead and preface that for this video. Just so you guys know that you guys are watching the pre-recorded on this video. So if there's any kind of gaps or anything, I do apologize ahead of time. But in other than if I could talk. And another thing I want to bring up is this is going to be the last Ignite Thursday. I've been doing this for about 6 months, and ultimately, I think my goal for Ignite Thursday has pretty much been met. There's other things I want to start doing, like I want to start focusing on a book, which is something I've talked about even towards the end of last year, the beginning of this year. I wanted to focus on a book. I developed a course. If you want to check out the course, that is down in the description below. Also, I wanted to develop that book. So it is halfway through the year and something I really want to focus on. So I'm going to stop doing the lives for now, but that's not saying they won't reappear in the future. But as of right now, this will be the last Ignite Thursday. So that is essentially the plan. What I'll do is I'll continue the podcast, and I'll also be doing an additional video every week. So you can look forward to that. I just wanted you guys to be aware of that and be knowledgeable of that. And so without further ado, what are we doing for the last Ignite Thursday? What we're actually doing is talking about letting go. Now, this is something that's it's been really hard, right? Like there's anything, I think it's probably one of the hardest things, and you could probably agree with me, right? As far as just letting go of whatever that is, whether it's a relationship, a job, or, an identity that you once had, right? Letting go is one of the toughest things. And even for myself, I think we can all say that we've held on to things for far too long without letting it go, right? Because I think a lot of times we come into different things with that idea that, we're not going to get that exact moment again. And given that exact moment or that exact person that comes into our life at that specific time, I've talked about this too, about reasoning. I think it was my last podcast to talk about reasoning on why people come into your life, but ultimately understand when letting go, right, we have this scarcity thought and idea that that person will never come back in our life, and giving yes that particular person at that particular moment may not come into our lives, but we can have somebody else that is similar to that person. Being said, right, I think you should cherish every moment with those people that you are with, and how much time, time is something I want to talk about on the next podcast as well, and the importance of time and the people you spend it with. But as far as like letting go, I think you need to come to a point in your life where you need to know that you have to know when your environment becomes toxic and when to let go and not hold on and hope and dream that particular person or job or whatever the thing is, that identity that you had will get better. I think a lot of times some things move beyond repair, and we have to be conscious of the fact that it is becoming more toxic, that you are expending more energy to that person, to that job, or to that identity that needs to be, right? And it becomes so toxic that it overtakes your life, and you don't like who you are. You don't like where you're at. You don't like your state of mind, right? There's a lot of things that come into play if we don't let go, if we hold on to things longer than we should have them. And a lot of times when you talk about, time will play out, things will get better. And this is something that I've said, and I remember saying this many different times in some of the relationships and some of the jobs that I've had. Just let time play it, and it will do better. And the longer I continued to tell myself that, I realized that things would never get better, right? It was me repeating the same statements, me repeating the same actions. Nothing got better. I had to come out and let those things go, whether that's a relationship, a job, or whether that is an identity that I had. And a lot of times this is what is important, is realizing the toxicity of whatever that thing is, and removing yourself from it. And I know what you're going to say, Marcus, it's so easier said than done, letting go. And I know how hard it is, because a lot of times I think I've held on to things, and I continue to do this sometimes, where I hold on to things a little too long, and not setting that boundary. Like I talked about boundaries, right? Because you do have hope. You want things to get better. And a lot of times what the case is that there is action being taken, right? There's some form of action that is repetitive. And if that action is repetitive, if it's in a relationship, if you see it at work, right? It's an event that continues to occur, right? Ultimately, it's never going to change, right? And again, you can go back to hoping, wishing, and dreaming that it will, but it won't until you take the action and essentially walk away from it, is ultimately what you have to do, because you realize you're aware of the toxic environment in which you're in, or the toxic relationship that you're in, and it is essentially draining you and taking away your focus, taking away your thoughts and ideas and what you're trying to obtain, right? A lot of these different things happen. And again, it's important to recognize that and let go. And as hard as that is, sometimes you just have to pull that Band-Aid off, and you just have to execute on it without having to worry about it, and realize that it is going to be tough. Letting go is never tough. Like I just said, that for me, sometimes I can rip that Band-Aid off a lot quicker than other times, but it is a practice, right? And being comfortable with knowing that it's okay, let it go. And if it was really meant to be, right? Like I talk about those moments in time. And when I talk about specific people coming in your life at specific times in your life, right? If it's a relationship, or if it's a job, or if it's the identity, whatever the case is, if it's really meant to be, you let it go and it comes back, right? That's more so for relationships, but ultimately even identities or beliefs about something specific, right? It's letting go of those things that are holding us back and making our own environment toxic. And you can recognize that, right? It's easy to recognize that, but it's taking the action to just let it go and let things be as they are, right? And knowing that hoping and wishing will not get you past that state. So that is one particular thing. And knowing that, again, understanding that you cannot grow, you cannot progress to where you want to go by allowing, again, that person, that thing, or that event, or that identity, whatever the case is, not letting it go, you'll never be able to grow. And even though, I talk about uncertainty and all those things, and you're unaware of what really is going to happen. I've taken some big leaps in my life. I think I've been known for that. I think people that know me know that. And some people, again, don't agree with probably the choices that I make. But ultimately, you have to understand that, you're not out to please other people. You're out to please yourself. And you have to make what's right for you. And the only person that knows what's going to be happy or put you in that happy state of mind, and understand that it is just a state of mind. You don't need things, but you can eliminate things to make yourself happier, to make that state become a lot more frequent, right? Because being in a consistent state of happiness is not going to happen, but understand that things get better, and have an environment in which you're energized all the time. Right? You may not be happy all the time, but you can quickly bounce back if there's times in your life or an event in your day that may be a little bit harder. But realize that you have a new environment in which you can grow, because you are letting go of those things, and that you can grow. Because if you don't let go, you won't grow, and you continue to be where you are. And I've talked about projecting 5 to 10 years down the road. Right? If you don't actually take an action to make the change, you have to realize that it will not change. I realized this a couple different times in my life. Right? When I was younger, again, it took me longer to make the change. And then I realized that as I got older and I've lived through more experiences, that the quicker I'm able to cut that off, whether it's a relationship, whether it's something else going on in my life that is becoming toxic, not allowing me to grow anymore, that I need to cut it off quicker. And I think you can get to a state to where you feel like, again, you'll never reach that particular event or have that particular relationship again. It comes into scarcity and understanding, especially when you get older, you start thinking about this a lot more, about being alone. And I've talked about being alone, stuff like that. And so you try to hold on to, I think, relationships or a job or something specific that is going on, a moment in your life that you're trying to hold on to without letting go. And a lot of times this can go back to your past, right? Like there's specific things that you hold on to in your past that you just won't let go. And realizing that if you don't let go, you're not really giving yourself that freedom to explore and do all the other things that I talk about, because that's essentially why I talk about the things I do on Discover Ignite, is to being able to let go of those things and go out and start new things. And even like, doing these Ignite Thursdays every Thursday for 6 months, right? It's hard to believe it's been 6 months, but understanding that, right? And letting that go, right? It's like I've gotten to a point where I think I've progressed enough in the live that I want to expand and do other things that goals and stuff, ideas that I had in the beginning of the year and finish this up before the year does end, right? And not just that, but relationships and everything else that is going on in my life. And trying to recreate, right? Because we have to understand that, I've gotten new pieces of information, right? And I've talked about doing meditation and doing think tanks and stuff like that, and helping yourself progress and growing. And to be able to do that, sometimes that old shell, you outgrow that old shell, and you have to essentially grow into that new shell and become yourself, right? And so being said, I think ultimately, not being able to grow is huge, and that involves letting go. And you have to know, right? It is 100% up to you. Again, you audit this, and you have to recognize the toxicity of the environment in which whatever that thing is affecting you and how it's affecting you, and realizing that you're going to be stunted, right? Your growth will be stunted. Things won't get better until you go outside of that. And again, that's something I have done. I have made that change and realized it was something I had to actually go out and do. I had to actually go out and change it, or else it would not change. And as much as I wish and I hoped and I dreamed about things, and again, it even goes back to when I was working in security, and something I talked about before is, if you follow me at all, I talked about being in security and working a security job before I went in the military, and just letting go and hoping and dreaming that things would get better. And it wasn't until I started taking the action, one actionable step led to the next, and realizing that I didn't know what I was doing. I was uncomfortable with everything, but I was just going with the flow. And this is what is important, I think, when you start taking these actions and letting go, is even though it's painful as it is, right? And I've also talked about this, about how the brain doesn't want to let go of specific things, right? It's wired a specific way. When you get older, it doesn't like change, but it's not saying you can't change. You can still change, but it's your brain still looks for that pattern, right? Because it's most present in the forefront of your memory. So being said, it is going to be painful, right? And I talk about how change is always painful, but letting go is extremely important. And for myself, again, you have to get to a point in your life where you care more about your mental health, about your physical health, right? Because without that, right, you don't have the building blocks to build out all these other things. And a lot of times we just forget about our hopes and our dreams. But we have to realize that to be able to get the hopes and the dreams, we have to let go of things and take the action to create whatever that thing is that we are actually looking for, again, through getting perspective or living through experiences, and realizing that is ultimately what's going to get us where we want to go. And so, again, you've got to know that you're not going to have that growth if you can't let go. And that's what's, again, most important. And then the last thing I have here is, when you don't let go, you start focusing on the wrong things, right? You start focusing more on that relationship, more on that identity, more on that job, right? As opposed to what else am I looking at, right? What else can I create? I talk about creating something all the time that can help deter you from essentially chasing a relationship or chasing a job or career or identity or something in your life that is pulling you away from is essentially what you want to achieve in life. And it's not saying that, a relationship should be extremely important and be part of your life, right? I think relationships are extremely important in your life, but you have to live a life where you both are on the same page. You both are living your own lives. You both enjoy sharing stuff, right? And I'm going to get into this in my podcast too about time and how important it is, and actually focusing on those people that want to give you their time, right? Because time is your most valuable thing, most valuable commodity. You have to understand who is giving you their time and who you are giving your time to. And that is what's important right now. And then go back to the negative environment stuff, right? Or the negative person or the negative job, whatever the case is, that identity that you're holding on to about who you once were, or the thing in the past that has harmed you, whatever the case is, ultimately letting go of that so that you can focus on the right things, right? On where you're trying to go, right? Are you trying to be your optimal self, to be that, right? Does that involve a relationship? It can. There's not saying it can't, but it shouldn't be the focus, right? You should complement each other. You should always want to do more for that person, right? It's not saying you wouldn't go above and beyond for that person. But the thing is you shouldn't be so heavily reliant on that person to entertain you, right? To provide you all these things, but more so that you are just happy for that person to be around you, or that thing, whatever the thing is. But ultimately understand that if you don't let go of some specific things, right, it takes your focus off of what really matters, because you are essentially more worried and spend so much energy and a lot of draining energy trying to work on that specific thing, right? And realize that, again, it's pulling you away from where you're trying to go. And for myself, it's always been, I've had specific things that happen in my life, and then I start focusing more on that as opposed to where I'm trying to go. And so you're not aligned with where you're trying to go. And again, when you lose that focus, it's hard to gain it back. It's hard to gain motivation, again, because you're pulled off track. Again, understanding the way life is, and we are human, we're all emotional, and understanding that, yes, it is important to explore other things. But again, doing self audits is important. And seeing where you're at, again, addressing your time, right? Are you giving your most valuable thing to somebody that is not doing the same for you, right? Do you feel like you're giving a lot of time and the other person is not? Do you feel like you're putting in a lot of time for that job and you're not getting enough back, or you're not getting your fair share back, or you're trying to live up to this identity, right? And you find out that it is more draining than just being yourself, right? And so it's letting go of these things, right? It could be anything in your life. It's not just relationships or the things I'm talking about or hitting on. I know I keep hitting on relationships, but ultimately understanding it's anything in your life and trying to let go of that. And again, to be able to let go, you have to realize of what it's taking, what time and resources is it taking from you, what is actually giving you their time and resources and the ROI for the time that you put into it, and realize that you need to correct it off of that. And again, not hold on to things that are not working, right? I think a lot of times we have enough track record, we have enough validation, but yet we still continue to hold on and hope that things will get better. And I'm here to tell you that they won't get better by hoping and dreaming, and even sometimes even taking action to, say, for instance, it's like a relationship, taking instance to repair a relationship. You can definitely tell that things aren't going to be fixed, right? And I think a lot of people fall into that category where you what you push through it, right? And a lot of times, I think you should always push through things. You should always dedicate time, but how much time, right? That is up to you, essentially, to understand, like, how much time are you willing to put into it? How much time have you spent on it? How much time are you more willing to put into it, right? Do you have a deadline on, okay, well, if this isn't fixed by then, right? Like, you have to realize that your time is limited. We think that we have this abundance of time that, okay, well, it'll work out, it'll work itself out. But ultimately understand that time flies by, right? Like, even for me, like, I just turned 40, and realizing that 40, right, it came quicker than I thought it did. I can remember when I was 35, I was like, 40 seems so long away. And then 37 is so long away. The next thing I was 40, right? And understand that time comes quick. So you need to be aware of where your time is going and who you're spending it with, what it's being spent on. And again, eliminating those things that no longer suit you, and how important that is in your life. But with that being said, that is pretty much what I had for today. I was talking about letting go. Again, I know it's hard. And again, for me to let go, I know it's going to be painful, but I try to eliminate it the best that I can. And sometimes it takes a slow process to let stuff go, right? Because immediately just cutting stuff off, I find can be most painful. And sometimes you do have to just cut stuff off immediately, and realize that if you don't do that, that it will never go, because some things you can't progress, like maybe bad habits, bad diet or something like that. You have to slowly progress, that kind of thing. So slowly letting go of that lifestyle that you once had into the lifestyle that you want to have. And so that being said, that is what's important, is to differentiate, right? It depends on what it is. Again, relationships is something that I think is a fragile thing. Yes, you do need to, I think you need to cut stuff off a little bit more faster than we like to tend to do, especially if you have any kind of a time with that other specific person. But I think it's important to be able to cut that off, recognize the toxicity of that relationship. It could be personal and professional. I'm not just talking about personal, but I'm talking about professional, right? And understand that, hey, this is not working, right? It's becoming too toxic. I'm not growing anymore, and I'm focusing on that relationship more than on the things that need to be focused on. And again, that is one of the biggest cues, is to understand that, where's my focus right now? Is it so much on trying to repair a relationship, trying to fix something specific, right? As opposed to, is this actually getting me to where I want to go? And again, aligning everything with that destination, I think, is what is most important. Again, because our time is so critically important to our lives. And I keep hammering in on this because it's a lot. And a lot of times you don't think it is until you get that scare of how fragile life truly is. And again, where your time is going, where you focus most of your time. And that's what I got. So I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Again, last Ignite Thursday. I'll let you guys know. I actually put a message on the YouTube channel as well, and put it in Instagram, so everybody is aware of that. If you guys did miss this, you guys are watching this pre-recorded. Till then, guys, again, I will be doing the podcast and then one video a week. So that'd be 2 videos a week. And then I'm going to try to focus on the book and try to get that book done before the end of the year. That is the goal. I wanted to get my course done. I got that done. And again, I wanted to focus on the book this year and continue the podcast, which I've been doing. So, so thank you guys. I appreciate you guys for coming on and joining me live. Or if you're watching this pre-recorded, I appreciate each and every one of you for subscribing, for being a follower, and for trying to ignite change in your life. It's not the easiest thing to do. It's talk about putting in the repetitions. It's talking about all the different things I've been talking about over the past 6 months, or even in the past 3 years that I've had the channel, the YouTube channel, or even I've had I think Instagram even longer than YouTube. But being said, I come on here to try to help you change your life and realize that it is the tools and techniques, perspective, everything I help try to teach you guys is something to help change your life. It's what helped me change and ignite my life. Come from a chubby, essentially introverted kid into somebody who I am now, right? And working 9 to 5 and going out and changing my life dramatically and jumping career fields and changing, losing the weight and becoming confident and going out and expanding my comfort zones and starting a business and starting investments and allowing that to pull me away from, the grind and all these other different things in my life. And then starting to look at other things like writing a book and who else knows what I want to do. There's a lot of things I would like to do. Life is short, right? I'm already 40. A lot of things I would like to do. I know my time is limited. And so I try to focus on those things that can help me leverage what I have. And that's ultimately what I do with Discover Ignite, is trying to help you guys leverage what you have. And it's not saying, because I know everybody comes from different walks of life and only has limited resources. So it is leveraging those resources. Again, so remember to hit the like button if you guys are watching this pre-recorded. Till next time, guys, take care, and I will see you guys later.